Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our final edition of high school boys basketball for the 2015-16 season. Today, it's the annual Twin Cities Boys Championship featuring two teams who are rekindling a rivalry that harkens back to the 1980s. The St. Paul Central Minutemen at 18-6 host the Minneapolis North Polars at 21-5. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Beaton. Thank you for joining us. Crystal Flint will join me in the booth in a few minutes. This is a rivalry that has been brewing for some time. These two teams know each other, playing in an annual series for the last 3 years. Minneapolis North has the edge, winning the last two meetings between these two teams, including a 12-point decision 16 days ago at this very gym. But these players also know each other from their time on the gridiron. A lot of football and basketball crossover athletes decorate the two rosters. And so even though Minneapolis North was hoping to get another shot at Johnson at this Twin Cities event, that's not to say there won't be some interesting storylines against St. Paul Central. Minneapolis North at 21-5, a heavy favorite to win the Class A title this year. Certainly a favorite to get out of their section. Maranatha, their foe of the last 2 years, is rebuilding, so everything would suggest that North is ready to hoist that crown, but they're not going to get too far ahead of themselves here with a single elimination bracket. They won't get the top seed in their section, and they'll get a first-round bye. And if they can get past that and get to that state tournament, it would be a big deal for a team looking for that last piece of validation since Larry McKenzie took over. But here's a few notes to chew on. Since McKenzie took over as head coach, the Polars have won 32 of 36 Minneapolis City Conference games. They did suffer a 4-point loss to Washburn recently. They attributed that to just having a bad game, and that happens with any team. But if you're going to have that, get it out of the way before the one-and-you're-out rule begins. St. Paul Central, it's been 8 years since they were last in this Twin Cities game. Technically speaking, they tied with Johnson for the St. Paul City Conference title, but because Johnson had gone to the Twin Cities event for the last 7 years, St. Paul Central wins that tiebreaker. They're not as deep as Minneapolis North, and on top of that, they got the 7th seed in their section despite an 18-6 record and a non-conference schedule that included North, as we mentioned earlier, Delano, Orono, Minnehaha Academy, and St. Paul Academy. But the coaches didn't like their lack of section teams, so that's how it goes. If anything, it's going to give these guys a little more motivation, and certainly something positive for a school that has been hammered by waves of depressing anecdotes. We'll talk more about that as the game goes along. Players to keep an eye on, the Gubroods, of course, Abdi Muse and Jack Beckman. St. Paul Central, don't sleep on this team. They could make another surprise appearance in the playoffs. We'll have the starting lineups in a moment. You're watching the Twin Cities Boys Championship. And we're back at Central High School, and I am joined by Crystal Flint, who's fresh off her 9-point win over the Minneapolis Washburn Millers last night.
Yeah, hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me again.
I'm going to say, your North, if I'm not mistaken, your North girls are back on a winning streak again.
Yes, we are. We went on an 8-game winning streak, and then we went down to a 4-point losing streak, and now we're back on the upswing. So we have 2 more regular season games coming up.
Number 12 for the Bullets.
We'll talk a little more about that in a moment. Let's take a look at the starters. For the visiting Minneapolis North Bowlers, it's Jaquan Sanders-Smith, the junior guard, number 4. Tyler Johnson, the senior guard, number 10. Jameel Jackson, the senior forward, number 12. Patrick Dembley, the senior guard, number 13. And Odell Wilson, the 4th, also known as Biggs, the sophomore center, number 32. Central will start. Jack Beckman, the senior guard, number 3. Abdi Muse, the senior center, number 15. Jamal Galado, the senior guard, number 20. John Gubrud, the senior guard, number 30. And Sam Gubrud, the senior forward, number 31.
And for your Central Victory at forward, number 31, Sam.
These two teams met 12 days ago, 16 days ago, I should say, with North winning 83-71. And as we noted in the open, there's a rivalry brewing between these two. Maybe not as strong as North and Johnson in 2 very memorable Twin Cities games, but with all the football and basketball crossovers and the annual series of matchups between the two. Talked to Scott Howell, and he said it brings shades of the rivalry between these two back in the 1980s.
Yeah, you know, I can remember when my son was a freshman at North just 3 years ago. They played a game here, and Central won the game by 2. And then Central came back to North, and so they've been kind of going back and forth now. So this Central should be looking to get them back for that earlier loss.
North has won the last 2 meetings, beating Central this year and beating Central a year ago at Minneapolis North. Just pride on the line and a tune-up, but for these two teams, this should be a very good tune-up as they get ready to enter the playoffs.
Absolutely. You know, I think that North High School is not taking this game lightly. Yes, it's for the Twin Cities bragging rights, but they, if you see the back of their jerseys, it says unfinished business. So they're looking to definitely make a statement going into the state section games next week.
And it's also worth noting that Larry McKenzie has not won a Twin Cities game since taking over at North. So there are some bragging rights.
Yes, that's a good point as well.
There are some bragging rights to be had to get this game as we are underway.
Let's see, Central's in a little bit of a zone. I actually missed that first meeting with Central this a few weeks ago, as you mentioned, and I was told that Central hung around early in that game, you know, shooting threes and taking care of the ball, and then things just begin to unravel in the second half.
Odell Wilson will shoot 2. The foul is on John Gubrud, his first personal. And Odell Wilson gets on the board. Nickname is Biggs, averaging 12 points per game and 6.4 rebounds a game. And if it makes you feel any better, I also missed that first meeting because I had to go cover your meeting with Minneapolis South that night.
Right, it was that night.
I got to be a part of history. That was the first time an entire team photobombed my postgame interview.
Yeah.
With Minneapolis South winning that one.
Yeah, that, you know, South is a young team like we are. So, you know, that's a rivalry that I look forward to in the next coming years.
Well, and they've been on a surge of their own as of late, knocking off Southwest last night and taking down Waconia and Minnehaha Academy in recent games.
Yeah, they're a young team, very well coached and very well skilled. So
North leads 2-0. Wilson has it. Crowded lane, kicks out to Jameel Jackson. Finds Tyler on the backside, and he'll go to the line for 2. And
That might be a second foul there on one of the Gruber brothers.
It is. It's the second on John Gubrud, and foul trouble was an issue of his in the previous game I covered with Central and Minnehaha Academy. That game, Minnehaha won in overtime, and one of the most physical games I've seen this season.
Well, you know, one of the things that you got to be careful of is having your starters get in early foul trouble. Now they got to go to the bench perhaps earlier than they normally would have wanted to. And, you know, that tends to disrupt your team. But, you know, that sixth man coming off the bench is very key. So let's see what the young man brings entering the game right now.
Tyler Johnson missing both free throws. No field goals yet. It's still early, though.
Yeah, North has a little bit of a swarming man-to-man defense while Central is trying to slow them down a little bit with the zone defense. So look for North to attack it, though.
That's what Jameel Jackson does, and he goes to the line. So no field goals yet for North, but in 3 possessions, they produced 3 shooting fouls.
Yeah, and those fouls, I mean, if North is in the bonus, you know, halfway through this half, that could be a problem in and of itself. Well, but North isn't making their free throws, so I'll just take a look and see how this turns out.
Well, your team used that to their advantage last night.
Yes,
free throws in the win over Washburn.
Yes, down the stretch, you know, and our athletes don't realize how important free throws are to a game. It can win a game and it can lose a game for you. So
you need to send them tape of Elena Deladon. She hits about 97%. She's the I think the top free throw shooter the last several years. Yeah.
Okay.
Just send them tape of Elena Deladon and show them how it's done.
Well, you know, even in I don't have the actual facts in front of me, but I believe Rachel Banham and her 60-point output against Northwestern a few weeks ago, she was like 14 for 16 from the free throw line.
She only looks like Lindsay Whalen on the floor.
Right. All Golden Gophers.
Jamal Galato splits there. The foul was on Isaac Johnson. It's 3-1 in favor of the Polars. Now Galato has it again. Galato with the skip to 35. I'll get his name in a minute. 3 on the way. It's short from Galato, but he follows his own miss.
35 is Sean Blanchard Jr.
Yep. And we're going to have an offensive foul on Central. Yep, it's on Galato, so that's his second.
Well, now they have 2 players with 2 fouls on Central's team, and again, they have to go to the bench pretty early here, but you know, we've played almost 5 minutes, and the score is just 3-1. With these fouls and these turnovers down here by St. Paul Central.
Wilson goes up and in. That's our first field goal.
It was a really, really nice move by the left-hander, Odell Wilson IV.
Well, you mentioned the rough start. North hasn't played in 9 days. Their last game was against Minneapolis Henry on the 11th. Well, Odell Wilson's blocking hasn't turned rusty, and Central playing just 2 nights ago, losing to St. Paul Johnson by a point.
Very, very nice defensive block by Odell Wilson.
So you've got 2 teams with 2 varying degrees of rest. Central playing just 48 hours ago and North not playing in over a week. Getting the put back to Sean Blanchard Jr. And Jack Beckman steals the skip from Jaquan Sanders-Smith. He's got a hole, he'll attack and score.
And just like that, the score is tied with a 5-5. Central did a really nice job of putting some ball pressure on North, and I think North was just in a bit of a hurry.
Jackson open from the corner. That's strong, but Sanders-Smith is there. He can't put it in. jump ball, Central with the arrow.
So far, I'm really impressed with number 35, Sean Blanchard Jr. He's not that big of a young man on the inside, standing next to Odell Wilson, but he's done a really nice job of defending in the paint down there and also getting the offensive rebound that Central just had to tie the game 5-5.
Beckman was looking for Muse, and Jameel Jackson gets the deflection.
Well, good thing that Jackson had his long arms up, because number 13 from St. Paul Central,
Rituan Ballinger.
Yes, he was wide open in the paint.
And Central ends up coughing it up. 14-11 left in the first half. 5-5 our score.
I think both teams are still kind of getting the cobwebs out. I know that you mentioned that North had 9 days off, but Central looks a little rusty as well.
And that surprises me a little bit, only because these two teams have played each other before. You sometimes get that. And we got an alley-oop for Tyler Johnson. I don't think they look rusty there.
Very, very nice alley-oop play there by Tyler Johnson. That young man is just such an athlete. Such an athlete.
And he'll continue to showcase those abilities next fall for the Golden Gophers football team. Central in trouble, and they turn it over. Isaac Johnson in trouble, and he draws the foul. In a sense, a bailout foul, because Central had him on the ropes there.
Yeah, Isaac Johnson was in he wasn't in any position to make a really good offensive play there. He was just off balance, and Central absolutely bailed them out. But what I was impressed with down there was Odell Wilson's ability to help seal and help his teammate keep his arms straight up, did not get a foul, hustled and got that rebound with a nice outlet to Isaac Johnson.
Isaac Johnson makes both free throws. North is 5 of 8 from the free throw line.
And I only mention that because I watch a lot of North games, and Odell Wilson Odell Wilson tends to get in some foul trouble coming over to help, but he did a really nice job there.
They probably give you a VIP seats at those North games, don't they?
Well, I have some credentials there.
Muse can't get the hook to fall. Jameel Jackson with the rebound. He's got Tyler Johnson. Good passing game there, but Odell Wilson can't finish.
No, that was a nice pass. I think he needed to get his footwork together a little bit.
Well, Tyler Johnson gets a
and
steal.
Here we go.
Isaac Johnson will have to shoot free throws. He's fouled by Ballinger, and that's the second on Rituan. And Central is already out of fouls to give with 12:44 left in the first half.
Yeah, they're having a hard time, as a lot of teams have against North Minneapolis, with their up and down, fast breaking offense that they have. So they're really putting St. Paul Central on their heels. So Central's going to have to figure out a way to slow that ball down to get North to perhaps walk the ball up the court as opposed to these long outlets.
North now 7 of 10 from the free throw line.
So they perhaps made the last 7, but what's even more telling is St. Paul Central, the next foul, North is going to be in the bonus with 12 minutes left.
Offensive foul. Team control, so there will not be free throws this time, but Jameel Jackson playing some strong defense there.
Yeah, with that play, that player control foul, there's that is not a shooting foul, or not even a shooting foul, but with that being the 7th foul, you hear a lot of fans in the stands saying, hey, that's a 1-on-1.
Well, we have an official right here to explain exactly what happens. That's a traveling violation, so
yes.
You're right on top of it. Of course, I've covered enough to know that you don't get free throws on an offensive or a player control foul. And we'll have a timeout to discuss the finer details of it.
I think that the fans of both of these teams have seen enough basketball and perhaps know the rules enough to know that a player control foul is not a foul that you go down and you shoot free throws with, even though there's 7 fouls on the board. So that's a good thing that the refs aren't getting chewed out about that.
Well, as we get out of this timeout, Central called it. Are we going to have a match next year between you and your protege, Tanisha Scott? I know that was something you two were looking forward to this season until she made the coaching change to De La Salle.
You know, Tanisha is a very good friend of mine, someone
Are we
that
going to see a North De La Salle game?
We definitely will. We definitely will. We've already spoken about it. We just have to pick a date. You know, our girls are young, and I think next year her girls will be young as well. So I think that'll be a great matchup, and perhaps, you know, a nice little rivalry going forward as well. But a good one. Tanisha's a very, very good young coach coming up. So look to see great things continue over there at De La Salle.
Ballinger scored, and I had to bring that up because I'm good friends with Tanisha as well. So a little bit of a tease, but Isaac Johnson goes inside for the bucket. Just remember, when you have that date set, just give me a call.
I sure will, Mike. I hope that you can broadcast it. You do an awesome job of being fair with both the young men, young women, professional, unprofessional. It's just a great thing that you do. I appreciate it.
North leads 13-7, and Central's throws it away. That's a backcourt violation, so a little miscommunication on the pass there. And North using the pressure and getting to the free throw line. They just seem to be more in control right now.
Yeah, I think I think North has a little bit more weapons than St. Paul Central. I think they're moving the ball really well. And if Central isn't careful, North may begin to run away a little bit with this game.
Taylor Johnson on the floor for the Polars, the younger brother of Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, Taylor is coming along really, really well.
And I hear one of your offspring will be coming to this team soon. Here we go. Well, this time, Ballinger gets in the way, so no alley-oop from Jackson to Johnson.
That was very well defended. You know, look for North to...
They're going to try again. This time it's too high.
Yeah, Tyler looked like, hey, man, I can jump, but I can't jump that high.
Who do I look like, Super Mario?
Okay, here's the Tyler Hitter Johnson brothers.
And Tyler Johnson will pad his rebounding and his point total.
Yeah, I wonder if Taylor didn't...
And one, Jack Beckman.
I wonder if Taylor was, you know, meant to miss that to give his brother a rebound.
Well, this is his last regular season game of his career. After this, it's playoffs and he's done. But I was going to say, there's a certain offspring of yours coming up who was dunking for dollars last night.
Nah, he's not quite dunking yet. My younger son, Trayvon Holloman, is coming into his own right now. But he's introduced himself to the rim, so he's grabbing rims now. And he bet somebody he could grab it for $1, and he grabbed it.
So he'll be wearing the Polar blue next year?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know, he plays with their 6th grade traveling team now. So.
I know the North coaching staff wants him.
Well, you know, he's thinking that. He's thinking that. So if all goes well, he'll be a Polar in a few years. If not, next year as a 7th grader.
Sam Goodbrud hits the three-pointer. That's his first field goal. It's 15-12. And Odell Wilson turns a potential broken play into a pair. It looked like Jameel Jackson was expecting the pass, and Wilson caught sight of it.
Yeah, that North has been a little bit off target. I mean, they threw 2 alley-oops way too high for Tyler, and even that pass was overthrown, but Odell Wilson was there.
Taylor Johnson blocks a cutting John Goodbrud.
Awesome block.
And Jameel Jackson can't handle it.
You can just see North just really, really itching to get the crowd on their feet with a monster dunk, and they just need to relax a little bit and It'll come. It'll come. Well, you know, the way the game has gone and as easily as North has scored, Central is coming back and they're getting a little offense themselves. So score is just 17-12. They're only down 5. And I think Central is happy right now with all the foul trouble that they're in.
Galato has it, guarded by Jaquan Sanders-Smith, and he's poked away. Sanders-Smith all alone. Goodbye. And that's the first field goal for Jaquan Sanders-Smith, who averages 8.6 a game.
Yeah, and Jamal Galato, he has to be careful. He has 2 fouls.
And he's drawing a double team now. Gets out of it. But Patrick Dembley reads the entry pass, but he ends up losing the ball to Sam Gubroot.
I think he got away with his 3rd foul.
Bickman hits the tray. And it's a 4-point game now. Wait a minute. That's not right. They called it, oh yes it is, 19-15.
Yeah, that's correct.
My math is off. Abde Mousse's game isn't though. He takes the baseline drive and now it's a 2-point game.
Yeah, we may see a timeout coming up if North misses this.
Odell Wilson has other ideas. He'll get a 3-point play chance.
Yeah, North really needed that and one by Odell Wilson because St. Paul Central went on a little bit of a run there to cut into that 5-point lead that North had.
His nickname is Biggs, as you know.
Yeah, Biggs is a young man that I've known from birth. His mom and I are very good friends. His mother actually played basketball at the University of Minnesota a few years before me. And his dad...
Foul on Wilson. Free throws for Mousse. Go ahead.
And his dad played football at Penn State. So both of his parents are Division I athletes. Northsiders, and Odell is just an absolutely wonderful young man.
I've got a question for you. Who aren't you friends with?
I could see about 10 people in here that I don't know. Never seen
anyone from Wisconsin? You never were friends with any of the Badgers, were you?
No Badgers. No Badgers. No, I'm not a really good person with names, I admit that. But a face, I never forget a face. And I know that if we know each other, or if you know me, I even know you through basketball, through the University of Minnesota when I worked as an admissions counselor.
Odell Wilson, no, couldn't finish the spin move. That would have been a highlight-worthy play.
Wow, he made me look the other way. I had to stop talking for a minute. That was an awesome fake. But as I was saying, it's either basketball, University of Minnesota, or church. One of the 3 things. So, you know, those are all social types of atmospheres. So I know a lot of people. I tell my kids that all the time, so watch your behavior.
We've got a foul on Central.
No, I think that was on Tyler.
North. Yep.
That was on Tyler Johnson based on his reaction, but I think he had a little bit too much arm in that on defense there. Just his first, though.
Side out for the Minutemen, 21-18 our score, 7:28 left in the first half. Mousse takes the bounce pass, goes up against a double team and has no fear, puts it in anyway. Mousse up to 5.
St. Paul Central is just down 1 point. They've done an awesome job in spite of the foul trouble. They have 2 people in with 2 fouls right now and still playing very aggressively.
Isaac Johnson buries the 3 from the corner, and Larry McKenzie is going to call a timeout, probably for the reasons we mentioned earlier. Central hanging around and North, as you noted, maybe pushing a little too hard.
Yeah, I think make or miss, that is a great timeout. You know, just to say, okay, guys, you know, let's get refocused. They're scoring a little too easily down here. Let's move our feet. Let's rebound. And then when we get the ball, let's take care of the ball. So, and I'm sure Coach Scott Howell, I know him as well, is I'm sure telling his young men, hey, we're doing a good job. Let's continue to attack them, but then let's get back on defense.
And I talked with Scott and I noted this in the open, something positive for the Minutemen, because this is a school that has been rocked with a lot of harrowing news as of late. You had the incident involving a teacher that got a lot of publicity and, well, of course, drew a lot of commentary from the inner city haters, let's face it. And then 3 of their students passing away in the last couple of months.
Yeah, that's, stuff like that can be devastating, to young people. But I also know, I don't know a lot about, the events that you just mentioned, but another good friend of mine is Marta Wallen, who is the girls basketball coach here at St. Paul Central, and I see her Facebook post about, how heavy her heart is, and, some of those things that have been going on here. But, St. Paul Central is a resilient school, much like Minneapolis North is. So, these kids are resilient, and they'll just, continue to get better.
Well, North is now out of fouls to give after Jaquan Sanders-Smith was tagged with his first personal. Central doing a pretty good job avoiding the penalty situation as of late. North is now in it themselves here.
Yeah, so I can remember saying at the 12-minute mark that St. Paul Central...
And now they're going to go to the free throw line. Foul on Sanders-Smith, Galato to the line for 1-1. You were saying?
Yeah, but I was saying that St. Paul Central at the 12-minute mark had put North High School in the bonus, and in the last 6 minutes, they've only committed one foul, as opposed to North, who I think at that time it was a 7-1 count, and they've run off 6 fouls. So, and fouls usually balance out, and it depends on your style of play. But Central's doing a really good job of attacking North.
Jamal Galato averaging 5.8 points per game.
I think Jaquan Sanders-Smith has to really, control his hands. He likes to put his hands on players a lot, and a point of emphasis, being the ref that I am at times as well.
Johnson for 3. That's strong. Well, Sanders-Smith will open a bakery. Well, that's a way to recover 2 fouls and get the follow through, but like you said, you put hands on somebody, and a lot of officials are looking for that.
Absolutely. And the thing that he does is he actually puts both hands, which is an automatic foul.
Oh, right. That's going to go.
So you got the hot stove with one, and then the next one should be a foul. A lot of officials don't call that, but that is a point of emphasis, that you get the one hot stove touch. And then the next time you put your hands on, whether it's 1 or 2, it's a foul. So that's an adjustment that a lot of players that like to touch have to be aware of. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay, he's moving his feet. Good job.
Sanders-Smith gets a 3-point play. Mousse clutches and gets the reverse.
Awesome fake.
It's 27-24. Between 2 schools who are very familiar with each other. Isaac Johnson hits the 15-footer.
And they definitely can't stand to let that young man get going. He has 11 points right now, but he can fill it up really quick from beyond the arc.
The average is 14.7, and remember, North has 5 players in double digits.
Yeah. They, that's the great thing when you have a real balanced attack, that, teams don't know who to stop.
Abde Mousse doing some cleanup work. He's up to 9. Get some flow out of this game. Dembly, deep 3.
Woo!
And Jameel Jackson follows through for a putback slam. And that gets the crowd going.
And that's what I'm saying. North was looking for that, and they're the type of team that if you just take your time and relax, it's going to present itself just like it just did. And Jameel Jackson is... I'll put it on record. I think he is the best dunker in the state of Minnesota in high school basketball.
He certainly is the flashiest player on the team, and I remember that one-handed slam he put down against Hopkins.
Absolutely.
And you're right, North is a team that likes to play to the crowd, try to get them going and feed off their energy, but as you said, if they relax, they'll have those opportunities.
It's going to come. You're too athletic, and it's going to come. And you see, with that dunk, he played even harder on defense and was able to get that steal.
Dembly can't get the roll, but Sanders-Smith gets the foul and one.
Great job. Way to follow. I think Patrick Dimpley has to be a little bit careful right now because he's a little bit bothered. I think he feels on 2 occasions that he's gotten pushed a little bit. So, hopefully he'll keep his head a little bit because he's looking really frustrated right now.
Irving Stewart, number 4, is on the floor for the Minutemen, and he picks up the foul.
Okay, and with that, Taylor Johnson just came in for him because I think Coach McKenzie perhaps sensed that as well.
Well, McKenzie is a
substitution.
He's a Hall of Fame member, 4-time state tournament champion. I've got a feeling he's got a sixth sense somewhere.
Yes, his resume, we'll be here all day trying to read it. So let's just say he's a Hall of Fame.
You'll miss your game at Maranatha if we keep going on about it.
Yeah, that's right. I got to go and scout a little bit.
Mousse, step back, yes. Well, Abde Mousse making an impression.
Very impressive, very impressive.
Jaquan Sanders-Smith gets the runner.
And right back at him.
Well, Mousse had a solid game against Minnehaha and then fouled out, and he was fuming after that one. It was a very emotional game with Minnehaha winning in overtime.
He looks very comfortable.
He clutches and scores again.
You know what? I may have to borrow this video because that young man, before every shot that he's taking, he's giving a head fake or a pump fake to get Jamel Jackson, who's a great shot blocker, off of his feet, and then he's taking his time.
Offensive foul on Sanders-Smith, that's his 3rd.
Yeah, but as I was saying, he's taking his time, and then he's going up. I tell my players all the time, give shot blockers a head fake. Actually, you can give really anybody a head fake just to get them off balance, and then he's just taking his time and making a simple shot.
Well, as an old Sports Center anchor used to say, the pump fake works only every single time.
I like that. I think I'll borrow that. that.
I told our mutual friend Brianna that if you want to get tips on how to improve your game, just wait until I show up and watch my videos. Because apparently I'm the resource that everyone goes to now.
Oh yeah, Mike. I'm glad you're not charging yet.
Mousse can't hit the long deuce. Dembley with the rebound. Isaac Johnson loses control.
Defense.
Sam Gubrud stays with him and strips the ball away.
Awesome defense.
2 minutes, 50 seconds left in the first half. Central down 36-30. But it's been pretty back and forth.
Yes, it is. And North is really a second half team.
We've seen that several times.
Yeah, so, I think St. Paul Central's going to have to, not get comfortable with this.
Isaac Johnson to the rim.
We still have 2.5 minutes left, but if they, I think Coach Scott Howell will be really pleased if they can go into halftime. If they don't, tie the game or go up in this next minute, but in single digits, if they're down.
Taylor Johnson with the block. He's got Isaac on the outlet, and they can't hook up.
I think he led him just a little bit too much. Taylor has to remember, Isaac's game is not speed.
Well, and you noted North being a second half team, and I covered the Henry Orono game earlier this week, Henry winning in double overtime, and speaking with Jeremy Miller, he noted in some instances, including the North series, Henry was in front in those contests.
Yes, they were, including last year. I try to get to the North Henry game because it's the biggest game in Minneapolis. Actually, perhaps in the state. I don't think I've been to, well, I'll take that back. I think Apple Valley, when Tyus Jones was in high school, was perhaps
he
selling
drew crowds,
out.
and don't forget, and the North Hopkins game from earlier this year.
Yes, this year. But I mean, on a consistent basis, that North Henry game at North and at Henry is going to be standing room only. But this year in that game, Henry led that game pretty much the whole first half, and then North just exploded in the second half. I mean, exploded.
But that's going to be a fun series to watch over the years as Henry is now back to a top 10 team with Jeremy Miller leading the way and putting in similar philosophies to Larry McKenzie as Muse makes both free throws for Central.
Yeah. No offense, but Jerry Miller is no Larry McKenzie.
I'm not saying comparing the two, but he's putting in the same ideas of academics, athletics.
Okay.
You know, it's using that formula.
Okay, I would not be able to go back to work if I made that comparison. So I just want to
when
go
Henry
on record.
if he can win a few state titles, we might compare. That's going to be a foul on Muse, his first, and Tyler will shoot free throws. But I say that because Jeremy Miller took a Henry team that was sub 500 in his first year, and now they're a top 10 team, and if they were in any other section, they'd be a 1 or 2 seed.
Absolutely.
And Larry McKenzie kind of went through the same thing at North.
Yeah,
although he's been above 500 since. I mean, it took him a while to get North to where it is now, one of the most feared teams in Class A.
Sure. I mean, Henry has some outstanding athletes, and I think that they just need to, learn to stick with what works for them. Sometimes I see them going away from what works for them, but they've got some high flyers as well. There's a young man there, I believe he was number 15. Can't remember his name right offhand, but he did an awesome job against North, offensively and defensively in the paint.
Tyler Johnson hitting both free throws on the other end. North 11 of 14 from the free throw line. We have less than a minute to play, and the Polars have an 8-point lead. Central, I think Sam Gubru may have sold it a little bit, or either that or he got hit in the face, and you're going to react when you get hit in the face.
Yeah.
And Tyler Johnson picks up his second.
Yeah, and Tyler's not looking like who me, so
he's not
definitely happened.
He's not displeased with the calls. At first I thought he might have sold it, but then again, if you're hit in the face, and I'm sure that happened to you in your playing days, you get a scratch or two.
I was telling my players in practice the other day, I played with high ankle sprains, dislocated fingers, and I think some players these days, they feel like they can't be touched, and basketball is a physical game, so you got to play through it. Now that young man showed a lot of character in that, he stepped up and said, hey, give me my free throws. I got poked in the eye. But, sometimes you see players, they're about to pass out, need to come out the game.
Sam Gubru makes both free throws. That draws the deficit down to 6. Central 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Isaac Johnson faking the 3, goes baseline, strong. And the rebound will be Central's ball.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too much. I think this is a somewhat important possession for St. Paul Central here. They could cut this lead to either 3 or 6 points.
They have 30 seconds. North going full court. Odell Wilson almost had the steal. He tripped up, though.
A little bit too much here. All right, so St. Paul Central gets a second crack at this. Let's see what they do.
And they've got numbers if they want to push, and that's what they do. Sean Blanchard Jr. with the layup. But North with 10 seconds. Tyler Johnson goes to the hole, is strong. Beckman has it. Central with 5 seconds. They have time.
They don't need a foul. They don't need a foul.
And Taylor Johnson fouls Jack Beckman, and I'm with you there. You don't, especially in the backcourt.
You don't need
that
a
is
foul.
One of my pet peeves of basketball, fouls in the backcourt.
Well, to add insult to injury,
double bonus.
Now it's a double bonus. The clock is stopped.
And Central can cut this to 2.
Central could cut it to 2, and with a 5-second count can potentially tie it with his 5-second count and a steal after 2 made free throws. So,
well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. He has to make them.
Well, yeah.
And we just jinxed him.
He can make this one, get a 5-second count, hit a 3.
You're always one step ahead as a coach, aren't you?
Absolutely, you have to be.
Jack Beckman averaging 11 points per game. Misses both, so North gets out of a jam. And Isaac Johnson almost had a half-court heave. Well, you shot your theory out the window.
Shot my theory out, but then Isaac almost hit a 3 going the other way.
This score could have looked completely different. Than it does right now,
But again, what I was saying at the 6-minute mark even was that, going into the second half, only down 4 points, that's actually a good spot for St. Paul Central, especially how they started the half. So we'll see.
Minneapolis North will take a 40-36 lead into the locker room. We'll come back for the second half of the Twin Cities Boys Championship, and we'll show you some highlights from our previous Twin Cities Boys games because they always produce memorable contests, and we'll come back to break down the second half. You're watching the 2016 Twin Cities Boys Championship between Minneapolis North and St. Paul Central.
I don't think a loss would hurt them too much. They've had to sweat it out a couple times, but Vern Simmons, I've talked with him, and we've got a steal. Open layup opportunity. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, he wasn't going to let the crowd down on that one.
Roosevelt Scott wakes me out of my sleep. Conwell got it, but he can't bring it down.
Push that. Looks like they're on a fast break.
Malik Elamine one-on-one, takes it himself.
Nice. You can tell he's a little bit winded now, getting back on defense, but he made sure to finish that.
Tyler with the answer in the paint.
He definitely can shoot that.
NBA three.
He can definitely make that.
Well, it hit rim, didn't go in, but I'm not going to question his range. Warlick looking for Conwell. He's got him. Plenty of time. Marshall for three. Got it. That's not going to get it done. Another steal. Here comes Lee. Backdoor to Rosenblum. A little globetrotter ball there.
That was great teamwork.
Today, our final game of the 2010-2011 regular season, and it's going to be a dandy with the Twin Cities Boys Championship. Over in Milwaukee, they said we're eye-openers as we have Smith Bond and Chappelle for the tip. Roosevelt Scott wasting no time. Washington Smith, and he loses it to Dwight Anderson. Now it's Nick Anderson with the runner. Smith Bond, we haven't seen much out of him. For three, Marcus Marshall from the corner. Thomas thought about a three, drives inside, kicks out, and the finish from Chappelle. In the Payne Arcade area. Anthony Lee. What a layup. Johnson has so many players that can have big games. Lee, he's on the line. That's good for two. Thomas with 12. And a steal. It's Bratt. Bratt going for it. And we're tied with 13:01. And as the minutes wind down, Chappelle again. A phenomenal game for Cedric Chappelle. As the minutes wind down, Johnson's streak against Minnesota teams is in jeopardy. This time, Javon Smith. It's a 9-point lead for the Millers. Won't matter, Washburn ends Johnson's streak against Minnesota teams. The 55-game winning streak is over.
Southwest trying to push the ball up again. Johnson was waiting for that. Washington Smith-Pugh on the fast break, and the finger roll is good. Shut Apple Valley won 33-27. The low score was in part because the Lakeville South coach, I'll get to that in a moment. Johnson, after the steal, on the move again, and Kirk with another layup. Getting pummeled here in the opening minutes of this first half, and Johnson in transition once more. Look at them just posting up on the boards. Pierre Conwell cleans up. Smith-Pugh out to Mobley. Drains the tray. Sheet slot. Finds Conwell from the corner. Bullseye. Smith-Pugh for three. Yes. Johnson doing more cleanup work. We're now in Mercy Rule range.
Tonight, two teams who you may end up seeing in the state tournament bracket in their respective classes. Have met many times in the Twin Cities game and in state. Jameel Jackson missing the three-pointer. Isaac Johnson on the offensive rebound. Tyler Johnson posts up. He's up to 4 points. Mobley inside to Justice Murphy. Outlet pass to Clark. Mitch McDonald for three, swish.
Now Minneapolis North trails by 6. Long skip pass to Johnson for 3. Bullseye! Mobley to McDonald. He banks the triple. To Jameel Jackson for 3. Off the mark. Murphy with the rebound. Finds Clark. Clark with a quick lob. And the finish by Mitch McDonald. That's a traveling violation, and the officials caught it easily. Smith for 3. Bullseye! The second win over Southwest. As Isaac Johnson with the poke against Pierre Conwell. Tyler Johnson rises up. Walker. Skip to Jackson for 3. Bullseye! North bench wanted a foul. Thought he pushed Walker off with malicious intent. McDonald drains the tray. And Mike Peden and Crystal Flynn are back with you. And among the Twin Cities highlights, I'm disappointed that I couldn't get last year's involved, the double overtime game between Johnson and Minneapolis North.
Yes.
The highest scoring game in state history.
Oh my goodness. Just real quick, because I don't want to talk a whole lot about it. But
You're still salty about that one?
no, I'm not salty. But what's funny is I was out of town with my youngest son. We were coming back from Iowa, Wisconsin, I can't remember. And so someone was keeping us up to date on the game, and we got there after the second overtime. So we got to see the third overtime. That was
That's
awesome.
right, it was 3 overtimes, wasn't it?
That was an awesome game, and we followed it
all the way
via
on
Facebook in
Well,
the car coming from Iowa.
The basketball gods were watching over me that day because I had to go. I was covering the Gopher women at the time and the Big
Okay.
Ten Conference, so I had to go to their game with Michigan to write my preview because that was the only time I was going to see Michigan. And so the basketball gods, I say they watched over me because they gave me a double overtime game that the Gophers won.
Wow.
Amanda Zowie had her second 20-20 game
Oh yeah.
that
yeah.
season.
Man.
Missed the rebounding record by a little bit, but like I said, I was bummed that I had to go to one over the other, but somebody was keeping an eye on me that day.
Yeah.
Minneapolis North leads 40-36 over the St. Paul Central Minutemen as we start the second half. Abdi Muse, the leading scorer for Central with 15 points, and Isaac Johnson with 13 to lead the Polars. North, they're going to be the top seed in their section, and we talked about this off broadcast as Wilson is still working on the spin move, and he can't clean up his own mess. North, the next closest team to them, and if you go by the QRF metric, Heritage Christian, their rating is 114.4. North's is 245.4.
Okay.
And North, with the depth and talent they have, I mean, they could easily contend for state in another class.
Yeah. Small school with big time athletes.
Wouldn't surprise me if they jump up in the next reclassification.
Well, I'm not quite sure how that works.
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into it, so I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I could see them taking that challenge. Jameel Jackson's foul will shoot 2.
Yeah, with the school, I don't see the school growing that fast, to be able to move up in a class. But, my understanding is that coaches can petition for it. And, I don't know what the ultimate decision would be, but I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
I don't think the rest of the Class A field would mind the way it's going this year.
I know I wouldn't if I was the other schools.
That being said, they do understand more than anybody that they're not going to take the playoffs lightly.
Well, you got to remember, too, that North is, next year's class is going to be a huge loss for North, with about 6 seniors next year.
Well, they're losing Tyler Johnson and Jameel Jackson this year.
Yeah, and that's like 6 players in itself right there.
But they do have a big class coming up behind them, and they've got attention and a reputation behind them now, and that's going to bring a lot of folks who You want to be part of a successful program. That's what Larry McKenzie did at Henry, and we're seeing the same thing happen here at North. Goodbrood missing the triple. Wilson with the rebound. Sanders Smith, and one.
Well played. Jaquan Sanders Smith, did a really nice look away so that the defender thought he was going to pass it to Tyler Johnson, and he kept the ball and got an and one there. Well done. And that was the third foul.
No, the clock issue. The official spotted the clock.
Running. And it's still running.
We're certainly not at a 35-point margin.
Well, I hope somebody took a look to see what the actual time should be.
And I think that's what the officials are discussing now.
Okay, so they finally got the clock to
Well, they're going to reset it. Well, as my audio tech would say, just give everyone 100 points and let them play 5 minutes.
Okay, now let's see who's really on their toes, because it's not 15-35.
It's not 15-35. About 10 seconds went off. Well, while we have this clock stoppage here, let's talk a little more about the section matchups. They did release the seedings in 4A. Central's going to be the 7th seed. They will face Cretin-Durham Hall in the first round.
Okay.
But I spoke with Scott Howell, and he said especially the semifinal round onward is going to be very competitive. Woodbury, the top seed, and Tartan has a solid team as well.
Oh, yeah. I know a few people over at Tartan, and Tartan has some really, really good athletes. I actually officiated Summer League with them.
And finishing up on Minneapolis North as we're at 16-10. They're the number 1 seed. That's pretty clear. And we have the top 10 seeds. Of course, they don't do sub-seeds, so North's going to get a first-round bye. But Heritage Christian, Christ Household of Faith, Prairie Seeds Academy are below them. But you look at the QRF, which recognizes strength of schedule, among other things. North has a very favorable chance.
Well, North being in the conference that they're in helps their strength of schedule right off the bat. So
right, Henry's a top 10 team. Roosevelt's been on the rise. Roosevelt was one of the teams to beat Tartan actually this year.
Well, one of the things that I see from this section as well is that Maranatha has made a huge drop from in the past. They've been the one.
And they lost a lot of talent to graduation, and one of their top players, Demario Armstrong, transferred to the undefeated Osseo Orioles.
That's a good pickup for them, I'm sure.
Well, he lived there. He pretty much was in the area. Sam Goodbrood draws the foul on Jameel Jackson.
Yeah,
Armstrong won a state title with them for football and could do the same for basketball.
Absolutely. Wouldn't that be amazing? What a way to go out.
So Goodbrood will shoot 2. As Central gets on the board here in the second half. Sam Goodbrood, the team's leading scorer. He's averaging 21.6 points per game and has been the steady hand for Central's athletic programs, quarterback of the football team. The Goodbroods will be highly missed when they graduate in June.
Yeah, I remember those young men. I believe their dad was their travel coach playing at Jimmy Lee.
Was he a teammate of yours too?
No, not a teammate, but I coach boys, so a lot of these coaches and these players I've seen, in their middle school age.
Jameel Jackson hits the jumper, by the way, for the Pullers, and Galato draws the foul, and they will not give him the continuation, but it will be the 4th personal foul on Jaquan Sanders Smith.
Oh, that is a big foul for Jaquan. I don't see anyone coming in for him, so I hope he realizes that he has 4 right now. And this young man needs to attack him. He has 4 fouls.
But do they see it on the scoreboard? That's the one thing. Sometimes you lose track of that.
Yeah, well, there's a Taylor Johnson is coming in for him.
Jack Bettman drains the 3. And we're at a 5-point margin. Jameel Jackson can't handle the pass, and Central still not going away.
You know, I just want to go back a little bit to number 20, Jamal Galato. When he had Jaquan Sanders-Smith on him with 4 fouls, I would have attacked him and made him play good defense.
Gubrud, he attacks and draws the foul. Well, they got your message, just one play late.
Right. But, I mean, he came from the same spot, but Central's doing a nice job of attacking the basket right now. I'm impressed by that.
The foul is on Wilson, his 3rd, and Gubrud to shoot 2 more.
So right now, North has 2 players with 3 fouls in the game, and there's still a lot of time left in this game.
Oh, yes, an eternity, 14:57. Maybe we'll have triple overtime here.
I hope not, because I still have that game to get to.
I've got enough battery power to last through 3 overtimes, but I've had my share of overtime games this year. I've covered 4 in all. Gubrud makes both free throws to make it a 3-point game, and Jameel Jackson goes strong to the rim, and he'll get a shot at 3.
Nice job. North did a really nice job of working that pass around there to Jameel.
The foul is on Muse, his 2nd. And you noted their conference, and one of the conditions when McKenzie brought he and his crew over to North as Jackson makes the 3-point play, he wanted to face some tough non-conference competition as well, as Galato scores on the other end for Central. So the Hopkins, Wayzata, St. Croix Lutheran earlier this year, a team that knocked off De La Salle in a very exciting game. Yep. They want to face the top teams in the state. Isaac Johnson missing the 3.
Well, sure, they want to do that for a number of reasons. It doesn't hurt them, but beating their team, those teams, gets them prepared for their state tournament run. So it can only be a good thing.
Well, when you look at their schedule, their losses, well, the Wayzata game was their biggest loss. Crystal and I were there for that. Wayzata having a very tall team. They knocked off Hopkins in the next game. Wayzata could sneak in there. They lost to Washburn by 4. Other losses, Champlain Park, Pebblebrook, and then the 2-point loss to Hopkins. So, like you said, it prepares them for what they could face at state, even if they're not going to play those schools. But I think what you've seen over the years is North not only challenging these teams, but now they're contending with them.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean,
that Hopkins game, North could have won that one. A few miscues late cost them, but...
Well, the other thing is they have the talent to play with those teams, so...
Isaac Johnson, he can't get a putback slam and comes up empty on that possession. Central catching a break.
Yeah, I think Isaac wanted to do a little tip and dunk there and didn't quite get up as high as he needed to.
Galato steps into a 3, it hits!
And with that, it's a 1-point game.
So North was up by 8. It's now down to 1.
Well, we mentioned that North is a second-half team, but they better get going here.
Central showing some second-half poise here. And that's a foul on Blanchard. It's a shooting foul, so free throws coming for Taylor Johnson.
That looked pretty good to me from here. But the ref has the better view, better position.
Is it refreshing to say that now without repercussions, since you're not wearing the black and white stripes these days?
No, I just know. I mean, personally, I know from being down there and being up here, you can.
It's different.
It is different. It is different. I mean, he could have had his thumb.
You can see things down there that you can't necessarily see up here.
Yeah, you can't see that.
But like we said the last time we were together, a lot of these folks enjoy the game, want to continue being a part of it. And I have to give them credit because I don't think I could survive.
Trust me, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
I don't think I'd survive down there. I would run off and stage fright at halftime. There'd be 2 officials. One would go missing.
Lots of pressure here.
Central Oh, nice recovery by Blanchard, and he draws a foul on Jackson. That's his fourth, and Central still not going away.
No, Central is I mean, when you have teams that are in foul trouble and that, you know, like to block shots, you want to challenge them. So Central's doing a really good job of doing that with North. And again, another fake. And Jamil got a little too much arm.
You're gonna want a copy of this tape, aren't you?
Yeah, I
You'll
do.
be showing it to your players on repeat.
Well, there's number 35 is the young man that
Blanchard.
That's doing that.
Back into the bowlers,
He missed the first front end though, and this is a team that, again, that's going to be 7th in their section playoffs, the 7th seed.
That says a lot. I mean, hey, you know, but state tournament time, section time, you know, it's win or go home. So you got to bring your A game every game.
And I think what might have hurt Central going into that in more detail as Blanchard fouls Isaac Johnson. That's the last to give for the Minutemen. So just like the first half, Central uses up their allotment with a lot of time left. But one of Central's losses was to Roseville. And Roseville not doing very well this year, going through a rebuilding phase. That might have swayed the voting. But like you said, it's one and done, single elimination. So
that's it.
all you got to do in the bigger classes, you just have to be 6-0.
That's it.
If you're 6-0, you're going to win the title. Muse misses the baseline jumper. And a putback by Sam Gubrud using the left hand.
Very nice. Isaac Johnson took a spill there.
And I was going to note that.
And
he was slow to get up. Sanders Smith had an opening.
Yeah, but with that,
Tyler Johnson hits the runner. That's Taylor Johnson, I should say, as he gets his first field goal.
Yeah, they North needed that basket. I think we're going tit for tat here. If Central hits a three,
we're tied. Of course, we have a lot of time left, so they're not going to force one here. Ball is live. It's picked up by Beckman. Loses it, recovers it, and rolls it in. Are you sure there's no bakery around here? Because they've gotten a bunch of friendly rolls today. A lot of sweet rolls, I might add.
Mike, where are you getting these one-liners from?
Well, I'm allowed to say
from?
that because Tony forbid me from using that line. Of course, since his passing, I've borrowed some of his phrases.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
I don't use them frequently, but I don't know how else you explain that.
Okay.
Those high rollers.
Not bad. Not bad. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Tony Gears, who we're referencing, he died 3 years ago. A strong advocate for the game of basketball, had a lot of stories that he shared and a lot of stories that we picked up just working with him.
Yeah, Tony was a good man. He was a good man. Loved basketball and women's basketball.
Tyler Johnson missing the three. Isaac Johnson there for the rebound. Too far underneath, though.
Way too far underneath.
And that's number 34 drawing the foul. That is Jamiri Jackson.
Jameer Jackson is actually on the I can't remember what position he plays on the football team, but he is a very high caliber football player as well.
And that's what the coaching staff noted. He's a stronger football athlete than basketball athlete, but he gets his time here and there.
Yeah, Jameer, he's actually come a long way. Really nice, mannerable young man. He's an excellent athlete.
And I've noted this at multiple times as Isaac Johnson can't get the putback. Another missed opportunity for the Polars, and now a foul on Taylor Johnson.
Okay, but I think Isaac Johnson has to really be careful.
Okay, that's Isaac. I thought it was Taylor.
Yeah, I think he was just frustrated. He missed about 4 putbacks just then.
And that can get to you.
Yeah, it definitely can get to you, but the one before that, I think he should have kicked it out, but he was really trying to muscle it up on that one. Just came up a little short.
I was going to say it, and I've experienced this at Central as well, but a lot of folks over at North, at least with the basketball programs, are very friendly personnel. There's a running joke as Isaac Johnson makes up for it on defense, drawing the offensive foul on Muse. But there's a running joke I may have mentioned this to you, that I'm more popular at North than some alumni are. Even Scott Howell teased me about it in pregame because we ran into Leo Lewis, and a lot of these folks know each other.
Well, what I want to know is, does other places give you a hard time for being at North so much?
Give me some time. I'm sure other folks, well, you could say the same thing with Como Park's girls team as Jaquan Sanders-Smith takes it to the hoop.
That footwork was awesome. That footwork was awesome by Jaquan Sanders-Smith.
But yes, it feels like I'm an honorary member of the North staff these days.
Okay.
So Central's giving me a hard time. I'm sure you give me another year or two, other schools are going to rip on me for going to North a bunch.
Well, just keep us, on the list some more.
Ballinger for three. That's short. And the rebound.
Jackson has got to get up.
Isaac Johnson will draw the foul on Beckman, and he will shoot two.
Well, Jamel Jackson down here is still grimacing after trying to take that charge there. So keep an eye out on that. He looks like he's in a little bit of pain.
The foul is a third on Beckman, and with all these fouls, especially on Central's end piling up, we're going to have to keep an eye on that as the half winds down, because it's a close game right now.
Yes, it is.
And you need those bodies late in games. But we talked about North's depth, and this is a testament to it. Tyler Johnson with just 6 points, and you've got Isaac and Jaquan Sanders-Smith stepping up and scoring, as Isaac Johnson pads his number to 15.
Yes, he does. And another thing that I want to point out, Mike, is that with 10 minutes left, the next foul, Minneapolis North will be in the double bonus. So they'll be shooting 2 free throws the rest of the way.
North still has a foul to give. Muse is blocked by Isaac Johnson. Sanders-Smith to Taylor Johnson on the run. No! Tyler Johnson! Good morning, St. Paul!
Johnson and Johnson connection right there.
They ought to seek an endorsement deal when they're older.
Perhaps. Tyler Johnson going to University of Minnesota next year. He may get some connections with that.
North is up by 7, 59-52.
Minneapolis North has definitely stepped their defensive intensity up, coming off of that Isaac Johnson charge that he took.
They have a chance to extend the lead here. Baseline and one. It's Isaac Johnson, the aforementioned defensive specialist that you mentioned. And now North has their largest lead of the game, and on top of it, they're in the double bonus the rest of the way.
Yes, and that's that's huge going forward. St. Paul Central has to really be careful here defensively. I mean, you still have to be aggressive, but.
And that's the 4th foul on Jack Beckman.
Knowing that teams get to shoot 2 free throws going the rest of the way puts a little bit of pressure on them. And with that free throw, Minneapolis North is up double digits for the first time in this game.
Well, now Jamiri Jackson gives up North's last foul to give.
Jamir Jackson.
Yep. I had it.
Take that E off there. I know you see it, but don't pronounce it.
Fools everybody here, but Jamir Jackson with the fouls, we noted, now North out of fouls to give, so Central, and they haven't been too bad from the free throw line. Central could use that to their advantage. Another 3 missed from Sam Gubru. That has hurt Central's causes of late. Jamil Jackson with a transition dunk.
Yeah, I think North,
timeout by Central.
That's a good timeout. The crowd is into it. North is going on a little bit of a run here. You gotta stop that.
8:44 left in regulation, and the Minutemen trail by 12, 64-52.
And just about 3 minutes ago,
we were looking at a 1-point game. I think North is on an 11-0 run, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
This is where we need a statistician. Maybe next, you know what? Because I've got you and Quentin Johnson also wanted to call the game. Maybe I can get one of you to keep track of stats.
Well, I'll be willing to help you out a little bit. I'll be willing to help you out a little
Well,
bit.
we'll give you a shout out. But
I don't know. I think that people who watch from parents to players should perhaps, do the table, officiate, do the stats, because that stuff is not easy, and I know I can miss a lot.
I would certainly appreciate you. I would give you special thanks. I would give you a producer
a pat
credit.
on the back, huh?
Yep. So if anyone's watching this, you want to help me out, keep track of stats, I will appreciate you until the end of my existence, whenever that is.
Now, when you say stats, what do you mean by that? Do you mean stats of the...
because I think it's an 11-0 run, but there've been so many highlights, it's hard to keep track sometimes.
Okay, so not necessarily player stats, but
right, because
stats.
it's tough to keep an eye on everything
Sure,
that's going
sure.
on, but scoring runs, other notes.
I might help you out one day, Mike. I might help you out one day.
We'll be crossing paths next Saturday.
Yes, we will.
Crystal's JV team. Sam Goodbrook's still looking for the three-point shot.
Here we go
Crystal's
again.
JV team will be in the Twin Cities game, and good hustle by Central as Sean Blanchard Jr. takes a steal and a scoop to end North's run.
Yeah, Jamil Jackson was trying to spin out of that, and he had 3 people on him.
Well, he spun himself into a trap.
Spun right into it.
And now a high-low is intercepted.
Uh-oh.
Central, there you go, got to get control. And Abdi
Fake.
Muse, he could have pulled a nice fake on Jamil Jackson, but couldn't finish. And here's Isaac Johnson. He's poked away by Gallardo. Central not giving up their aggressiveness even in the double bonus here. Gallardo up, no! Blanchard has it, stays in bounds.
He can't touch it. Oh.
And we have a foul on Isaac Johnson.
Isaac grabbed a little bit too much.
And that's a tough foul because, as you noted, Blanchard used up the dribble, so he couldn't touch it again.
Yeah.
Isaac pushes on him, and so Blanchard can make 2 here when the clock stopped.
Yeah, I think Isaac didn't realize that as opposed to going after Blanchard, he should have grabbed the ball. But he grabbed the player instead.
And sometimes it's a bang-bang play. You're not always cognizant of that.
Yeah, that was a great hustle play on the part of both of the young men. But Sean Blanchard Jr. is doing a magnificent job today. He's all over the court.
Well, Central's not giving up, and as we noted, they certainly could sneak their way into the state tournament. But for North, what would it mean to get this game? We talked about bragging rights. They've been in the last 2 Twin Cities games and came up short in 2 very close contests with Johnson. What would a Twin Cities win mean for this team?
Well, I think, just knowing Coach McKenzie and his philosophy and being a coach myself, you set goals along the way. And one of their goals was to win the city championship. And they did that. Or not the championship, but win their conference. And now the Twin Cities game is another goal to win this championship. The next would be sections, and then the next would be state. So,
as they've said,
they're just trying to check some things off the list.
One team, one goal. They want to win state.
Yes.
And they know they have the talent to get there. Yeah. Central comes up empty in that last possession, we should note. So Isaac Johnson.
North is slowing it down a little bit, which is a good thing for them. They don't have to rush anymore.
Sanders Smith missing the 3. Well, Central hasn't shown a lot yet to give North pause, but that could change in a hurry. The 3-point shots, though, have not been going Central's way, and that's a big difference right now. Ball deflected by Tyler Johnson. It will stay with the Minutemen.
That went off of a lot of hands, including Coach Scott Howell.
Since Scott Howell's not an eligible player, he is not considered the last person to have touched it.
Now, Scott Howell does something that I don't think a lot of coaches do. Is he also the football coach
yes,
here?
He's the head coach of the football team, and he's held both posts for many years. A long-time member of St. Paul Central.
Wonderful.
He's just as popular here as I am at North. There were a lot of folks who were saying hello, and he remembered those days in the 80s as he was an alumni of this school when Central and North would go at each other, and of course that's when you had a lot of great teams over at Minneapolis North. You remember they won their first championship back in 1980 as Abde Muse gets the finish.
Sure.
And Central, they've had some talented teams over the years.
Oh.
Jamil Jackson is fouled, will shoot 2. But seems like Central and Johnson are always going at it for the St. Paul City Conference, and the rivalry may not be at the height of, say, North and Henry now, but at the peak of its rivalry, I covered a few of those games. It was a packed house over here.
Oh yeah, I've heard of the rivalry over here at Central.
And one of their biggest rivals is Highland Park.
Oh really? That's pretty cool. You know, there's nothing like, you know, a packed gym for a high school basketball game.
Well, I'll never forget the North Hopkins game. I know North Henry sells out every year, or it seems like they do, but that was cool to see.
Well, the excitement of that game differed in the North Henry game is way more emotional.
Right, you know each other, and how about that nice inside cut for John Gubru?
Very good. Central's calmed down a little bit, and they're working the ball, getting there, but they need some stops now. They need some stops.
Well,
they can't continue to trade buckets.
They trail by 7 with 6 minutes to go. A lot of time left. Isaac Johnson missing the triple. Offensive rebound by Taylor Johnson, and he can't put it in. I think Muse got a hand over his face. Gubrud, he's looking for a 3. Still can't hit it.
Oh. Very good job there.
Gutsy move on Jameel Jackson's
Yeah,
part.
I
He made
think
contact.
Jameel could have gotten it.
Another officiating crew might have called him for the foul there.
And that would have been his 5th.
Jump ball, Central with the arrow. And if John or Sam Gubrud can get his 3-point stroke going, that's going to give North something to think about.
Yeah, he's been a little bit off. I think he's a little off-centered there over in this corner here, but he's kind of wide open, so he just needs to take his time. I think he's rushing it a little bit.
Still a lot of time left, 5:27 to go.
Oh,
Tyler Johnson with the poke, the lead, and the slam. You knew as soon as he had a lane, he was going for liftoff.
I think I'd give him a 7 on that one.
Yeah, when you have folks like Zach Levine and
oh man, what a dunk contest
Gordon,
this year.
Beckman missing the 3. Yeah, it's hard to compare to those two.
Yeah,
Sanders Smith loses control, and Tyler Johnson just tips it in.
Well, if Jaquan would have gathered that ball, that was intended for Jameel Jackson.
High lob. Jameel Jackson stepped out of bounds there, but that was a dangerous pass for Central to make.
Yes, it was. But back to my point, that lob was actually for Jameel Jackson. He just lost his footing on it. But great follow-up by Tyler Johnson.
North not afraid to go to the rim, and that actually didn't sit very well in their border battle win over Onalaska. I don't know if you saw the video, but
no, I didn't.
one of the Onalaska coaches took issue to the dunks that North put down.
To dunks?
He felt they
as
were dunking
opposed
too
to a
much.
layup? It's still 2 points.
Well, it's a high percentage shot. If you know how to do it, then take it. Perhaps they're not used to it. And Beckman picks up his 5th personal foul. So his day is done for the Minutemen. He'll finish with 12 points. And North with an 11-point lead with 4:36 left. They're in position to finally get that Twin Cities crown.
They're getting closer and closer, and I think if St. Paul Central has enough in them, I think they need to start making a little push here defensively to get some stops so that they can cut into this 12-point lead. I want to know where's the heat in this building. My hands are freezing.
It is a little drafty up here. But you go through it all in prep basketball or at this level. I covered the Black Ice last year, and they played their home games at Henry, which had no AC, so it got pretty warm in there.
Okay,
Isaac Johnson picks up his 4th.
Now, I want to make mention of this. It's just under 4.5 minutes. North has 3 players in the game with 4 fouls. And
Sanders Smith.
St. Paul Central needs to make,
right,
exploit
they
that.
recognize that.
Yeah, they need to exploit that.
Sam Gerbrut at the line. That's where he's been proficient today. The players you mentioned are Jaquan Sanders-Smith, he has 4, Jameel Jackson has 4, and Isaac Johnson has 4. And as you noted, all 3 are on the floor. Sam Gerbrut makes both free throws. He's up to 13. 10-point game. Central applying some full court there, or at least token full court.
North is going to run this clock a little bit and get Central spread out.
Sanders can't hit the spin move. Taylor Johnson can't clean it up. So Central getting a stop there. Can they make the most of it? 4 minutes to go. Blanchard on the run. Oh, he had a good look and couldn't put it in.
Couldn't finish that one.
And that has hurt Central all day.
Oh.
And North loses it again.
Yeah. I know North is up 10. I know that they want to run a little bit, but they might consider slowing it down a little bit and use a little bit of clock because they do have so many people in foul trouble.
Not to mention they get 2 free throws if they can draw a foul.
Right.
Galato for 3. That's off. But the rebound is tipped. And they finally clean things up. That was Ratwan Ballinger on the 3rd try, and it's an 8-point game.
Well, if it wasn't for Ballinger, they would have missed.
And North missing another outlet pass.
Yeah, Coach McKenzie might need a timeout here to get them refocused.
He's going to send in a player we haven't seen before, number 20. That is Marshawn Downey.
Yeah, Marshawn is a JV player that gets some varsity minutes, so he's a really good athlete that will be in for some rebounding purposes. So, and he doesn't have any fouls, so he doesn't have to Olay defense down there.
No basket, but free throws coming for the steady hand of Sam Gerbrut,
and that's 5 on Jameel Jackson.
It is, so Jameel Jackson's day is done. He finishes with 13 points. I was going to say, Downey being on the JV team, I want to acknowledge North winning the JV match in the Twin Cities Championship. As you know, all 3 levels play. North defeated Johnson. And there's a lot of hype with the younger programs coming up. So even if they when they lose this talent to graduation, there are a lot of great athletes who will be ready to take their place.
Yes, they do. And I was just thinking, where is Odell Wilson the 4th? And he's just now coming in the game. I think Coach McKenzie may have forgotten he had him sitting over there.
Earlier today, the St. Paul Central 9th grade team beat Minneapolis Roosevelt.
Oh, is that who played? Okay.
So that's your quick recap of the Twin Cities games. And Gerbrut misses both free throws, and that has been Central's game in a nutshell. Missed opportunities. You make a few more layups. Odell Wilson does.
Very nicely done.
But
it worked that ball really nicely there.
If you're Central, you make a few more layups or you make these free throws, getting these clutch plays in, this would be a lot closer score.
Yes, it would. And get that 3 to fall. Oh.
Which hasn't, but Abde Muse is there to clean it up. 8-point margin, 2:35 to go. Central is going to have to try to get some turnovers here, you would imagine. And Odell Wilson having none of it. They'll go to the line for 2.
Yeah, Odell Wilson is definitely an enforcer inside that paint there. And judging on the inside players that he played, that is, a good 2-3 feet taller than him, he definitely has an advantage on the inside.
And Ade Muse fouls out of the game with 19 points. So that's going to be another thing to keep an eye on. Does Central have enough players left?
Yeah, well, number 15.
That's who fouled out, Muse.
Yeah, Muse, that's a big loss for them. That's a big loss for them because he is a really good defender on the inside in spite of that foul, but he's also an offensive presence for St. Paul Central. So
he averaged 12.7 a game.
Yeah, and look for North to exploit that. But I think, they don't need to be in a rush, and it seems like they're still rushing down the court here.
Odell Wilson with 11 points, and as customary at Minneapolis North, they're 5 players in double digits. The one surprise, perhaps, is Patrick Dembley not having a point today, but that's the beauty of Minneapolis North's depth.
Yes.
Gubrud with the 2. Central playing full court, and Taylor Johnson will take that ticket to the hoop.
Wow. Taylor said, no, big brother, I'm taking this to the hole myself. I think Tyler wanted a lob from him, but Taylor said, not today, big bro.
Well, he's shown his vertical himself in some of the JV games as Sam Gubrud gets to the line, but
still couldn't get that layup to go in.
But I remember the North Hopkins game, Taylor threw one down.
Yeah, he did.
So
they have good genes in their legs. Well, their dad actually was a very good basketball player himself, and guess where he went to school?
Minnesota?
Henry.
Oh, Henry. Oh, I thought you meant college.
Oh, no. His dad played at Henry High School, but both of his boys are at North.
Well, you went through a kind of an identity crisis last night. The mother of Alani Pettis, a graduate of Washburn, wearing her Washburn colors.
Yeah, and she told me, so she had on some blue and white scarf, the scarf.
Yes, but that didn't spare her from some friendly ridicule from the coaching staff.
Yeah.
That's a foul. John Gubrud's out. He'll finish with 2 points, and North looks like they're going to hang on to win this one unless something strange happens.
Yeah, I know it may seem a little premature, but it doesn't look like Central has enough in them to
I don't think they have enough
off.
players at this rate. But
they don't need a lot of players. They just need somebody that can defend and hit some threes here.
Well, they get help there with Odell Wilson missing one. And that's going to be the thing for Central. They can clean up some of the intangibles here. Every team's going to run into a bad shooting day at some point, but it's missing the bunnies as Wilson splits there. The free throws, those are things you can control. Central had their opportunities to make this a nail-biter.
Yeah, and it's not that they're not taking care of the ball. And that could have been an and-one just then, but officials.
It's the little things that they've got to clean up on. Well, nice hesitation move by Odell Wilson. I don't know if that was by design, but he gets a chance at 3 out of this.
Yeah, well, you got to remember he's a lefty anyway, so
he had to go to his left.
That's his strong side.
That's his strong side. I do hope they'll work on his right side.
Yeah, well, I actually had the pleasure of coaching him from 4th grade through 8th grade, and he's definitely been told that for at least 6 years.
North 23 of 32 from the free throw line, and they've been using that to their advantage today. Mulatto missing there. So North, with this win, they'll go to 22-5 as they head into section play. They'll get a first-round bye. Jaquan Sanders-Smith adds 2 more to his total, and McKenzie's going to call a timeout. Central will fall to 18-7. So for North, this is just another step in their season-ending goal. But to get a win like this, what do you think it says about their development?
It says a lot. These young men have come a long way. I think they've grown together. And they're just starting to reach the goals that they set probably 3 years ago for most of them. I know Tyler has been at North his whole career, and he's going out, accomplishing a lot of those goals that he set when he first came to North. So.
Well, remember, he was on the team as a freshman before McKenzie came in and dealt with a lot of losing in those days. And I remember his father told him, just stick with it and good things will happen. And they got a big hire in McKenzie. He brought his staff with, and North has returned to prominence in basketball, and they would love to finish off their rise to supremacy with a state tournament title.
Yeah, well, patience, patience is a virtue. Well, here we have North with Coach McKenzie's cleared his bench.
Gelato will shoot a pair here. And
so we'll get a chance to see a little bit of the future that North has.
And with Central, they'll fall to 18-7. We know they have the talent and athleticism that they can make some noise in their section, but what do you think needs to be done, because they're going to face some tough teams in Woodbury and Cretin-Durham Hall, and Cretin in that first round. What has to happen for them to get out of that section and into state?
I think just, I'm not as familiar with St. Paul Central as I am with North, but just looking at what I've seen today, I think they have a lot of key pieces. I think, however, foul trouble may have hampered them a little bit, but they did a really nice job of rebounding. They did a really nice job of getting to the basket. They just got to finish and focus and finish once they get into the paint.
And I'm looking at the box score here, and I'm not sure who would get your player of the game honors for North, because so many of them stepped up. Wilson with his rebounding, he had 16. Isaac Johnson will finish with 17. Jaquan Sanders with 17.
If I have a vote, I would say Jaquan Sanders Smith. I think that he made some of the more, how should I say it, maybe crucial baskets, if there were any. I think that, when North really needed a basket, he got into the paint and he finished.
An embarrassment of riches, though, at North, and we've said that many times, because they do have an embarrassment of riches. Hey, who do you stop on that team?
Yeah, I think they had, 5 players. But, Mike, I'm impressed by you, man. You got stats over here, too.
33 seconds left. Well, I always keep track of the box score here, but looking ahead.
You've been multitasking.
Well, I've been doing this for years. I always keep a score sheet in front of me. I can't keep track of rebounds to save my life, but
sure.
This was great to call another game with you. Hopefully we'll get to tango again next Saturday for the Twin Cities girls game, and I know you and I'm guessing the rest of the North staff will be there to support the JV team.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you on next week.
Perhaps one day I'll be covering you in the Twin Cities game.
Hey, sooner rather than later.
You're right. You never know. I might ESPN or Big Ten Network. I might get a call up, and then you'll have to find someone else.
Well, hopefully you won't be that big. But let me just say this.
Eli Campbell at the line.
Eli Campbell is a guard that you should really pay attention to. Really, really sharp young man. Very good ball handling skills, and can knock down the three-pointer.
I think you could say that with a lot of North's JV and below. So it's going to be a nearly identical score to the first meeting, and the identical result. Minneapolis North defeats St. Paul Central once again, 83-70 the final. They go to 22-5 and win their first Twin Cities game with Larry McKenzie.
Very good job. So like I was saying, North had goals, and this is just another goal that they're able to knock off. And I know that St. Paul Central has dropped another one, but they just have a few things that they need to correct, and I think they can make a strong push as well.
Well, as we noted, this was something positive, and Scott Howell said it's something for the seniors and everyone to look forward to. Now that they've been here, perhaps that feeds into next season, and who knows what happens in sections.
Sure.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Crystal. I know you're going to be taking off soon to go watch Maranatha, a potential section opponent of yours, compete in what should be another fun game. And we'll wrap things up from here. But Minneapolis North, your 2016 Twin Cities champions, 83-70 to final. We'll come back for our post-game wrap-up. And I'm joined by Jaquan Sanders Smith and Odell Wilson, the fourth. What does it mean to have your first Twin Cities championship under Larry McKenzie?
I mean, it's real good. We fell short 2 years in a row to a pretty good team, Johnson. So it was real good to come in here and get the win.
Say nearly identical results to 16 days ago. I don't know if the game played in a similar fashion, but how did you hold serve against Central's attack?
I mean, we already knew what Central's going to do. they're gonna try to trap us and stay in the zone all game. So we just had to play our game and attack the basket.
And that was apparent in several cases. I know you were looking to push the pace, and you in particular came up with some key plays on both ends of the floor to keep North in front.
Yeah, I knew I had to step up for our starting guard. Patrick Dinley hurt his back, so I had to step up.
Now, do you know how serious that is or what the situation is with him?
I mean, he should be all right in the 3-4 days. He'll be okay.
Well, you get a first-round bye, so sounds like he'll be ready to go for section playoffs.
Yeah, he should get a lot of rest. He'll be ready.
That being said, what does it say about this team where your starting point guard goes down and you come in and North continues their pattern of 5 players in double digits?
That's just one thing with Larry McKenzie. He picked a lot of guys, and North, we loaded, so we can pick anybody off the bench and have a good game, so it was nothing.
Now, all season you've talked about one team, one goal, and unfinished business. I know you have a long way to go, but what does this Twin Cities game do to help you prepare for the playoffs?
I mean, it's like Coach said, it's the second goal, because our first goal was conference. This is the second one. We got sections and state, and we're just trying to keep climbing.
So 2 more goals to go, according to Jaquan Sanders Smith and company. And Odell, let's talk to you for a little bit. I'll just move over here, actually. There we go. We'll just switch places like this. You were big down low tonight, living up to your nickname. How are you so proficient down there?
I mean, I had a long talk with my parents and Coach McKenzie. We had watched film, and before the game, we were just talking about the things I did before the game. I mean, last game we played them, and I just tried to fix some mistakes. So I jumped higher, and I got a little physical. So it was, yeah.
And this is a very physical matchup, as Central proves. They're not afraid to come at you. So how do you handle a team that is going to attack you the way Central does?
I mean, just practice in practice. Just playing with like people and like Quan and them in practice is just getting us ready for any team actually out here in Minnesota. Just physical and playing hard.
What does it mean to have a Twin Cities championship to your credit now?
I mean, it means a lot. Like Quan said, this is another one off the checklist. We got 1 more to go, which is state. 2 more actually.
Got to get through sections first.
Yeah, we got to get through sections and then state. So it's just a beginning.
That being said, you're probably the deepest team in Class A. And so what do you attribute to that depth where, as I mentioned to Jaquan here, your starting point guard can go out and he can get off in double digits, and about 5 or 6 of the players could if there was time?
Like Quan said, Coach McKenzie and this team, we're deep and we're full of talent. So, I mean, we got trust in anybody on the bench that will come in and just do what they got to do and keep on, pushing and keeping the pace going.
And this has been something in development for 3 years now. You've been a part of this, Jaquan over here, and a lot of this core. So how would you say you guys have grown to the point where now you're deep, talented, and able to prove your mettle against some of the best in the state?
I mean, we're growing a lot. I mean, just like back when we even played Hopkins, I mean, times like that, we wouldn't do some of the things we did now. We wouldn't have been communicating. We just grew more together as a team more than talent. So just working on each other and just making sure we work hard.
So for the 2 of you, how intense is practice going to be for the next few days leading up to sections here?
Really intense. Just keep playing the way we've been doing, I guess, in practice.
I feel like Coach, we're going same way we've been practicing all year, practicing hard, pushing each other, scrimmaging, going at it so we can get ready for state and sections.
And anyone you want to say hi to that will be watching this?
Shout out my squad. Shout out North.
All right, what about you, Biggs?
Shout out to the North Side.
All right, so they're going to head back to the North Side to regroup. Winners of the 2016 Twin Cities Boys Championship. That wraps up our regular season boys basketball coverage, but we're not done just yet. We have a couple more girls games coming your way next week. For our entire crew, I'm Mike Beaton. Thank you for watching the 2016 Twin Cities Boys Championship.